This is not a commercial for The Way I Heard It with Mike Rowe, the award-winning podcast now entering its 10th year and available wherever podcasts are listened to. No, this is a commercial for Mike Rowe's foundation, which has just set aside $10 million to help train the next generation of skilled workers. That money is available right now at microworks.org. It's waiting for anyone who wants to learn a skill that doesn't require a 4-year degree. Electricians, plumbers, linemen, welders, shipbuilders, HVAC techs. America is desperate for men and women with skills they don't teach in universities. And the MicroWorks Foundation is committed to helping train America's workforce for hundreds of thousands of AI-proof six-figure jobs just waiting to be filled. Apply today for a work ethic scholarship at microworks.org or support our efforts with a donation of any size. We're closing America's skills gap one job at a time, and we could use your help at microworks.org, MIKEROWE works.org.
Welcome to the Wired for Success podcast, your show for ambitious, mission-driven entrepreneurs who want to build million-dollar businesses without sacrificing their health, relationships, or happiness, who understand that in order to build their empire, they need a solid foundation, and that the more they are thriving, the more their business is thriving too. This show brings you the very best from science, self-development, and entrepreneurship to set you up for sustainable success. Hi, I'm Claudia Garbutt, the scientist turned mindset and high-performance coach for entrepreneurs, and I help you get wired for success.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Wired for Success podcast, where we talk about all things science, self-development, and entrepreneurship that help you get to that next level of success in your life and business. And my guest today is money mindset and business management coach, Cassie Saquing, if I pronounced that correctly. And after running a private daycare out of her home for 2 years, Cassie started a large daycare/preschool in 2005, and she grew it to a scaled multi-million-dollar per year business. And in late 2018, she started doing business management coaching and consulting for small to medium-sized businesses and online entrepreneurs. Cassie developed her money management system, the Profit Stack System, which is designed for female business owners who want to increase their cash flow without financial overwhelm, complicated tech, or a massive time investment. Before integrating her Profit Stack system, Cassie and her business partners struggled to pay themselves a consistent salary before 2015, which was already 10 years into running the business. But afterwards, they began to track revenue consistently, transfer money out into buckets on a weekly basis, and manage irregular expenses, and everything changed dramatically. They were able to write themselves 4-figure quarterly bonus checks and refurbish an old playground with cash borrowed from themselves. They automated many more financial protocols, and that lifted a lot of stress for them. And I think a lot of our listeners can really relate to that overwhelm and financial struggle. So I'm really looking forward to learning more about your system and what has been working for you. So welcome, Cassie, and thank you so much for being on my show today.
Thank you so much, Claudia. I'm really excited to be here. Appreciate you.
It's going to be so much fun. So let's start with a little bit of background and context for the listeners. So when you were a kid, what did you answer to the common, what do you want to do when you grow up question?
Oh gosh, I thought that was a great question. I actually wanted to be a mom. I loved children from the start. I used to babysit when I was young, and I always just wanted to be a mom. I think I wanted 7 children back then. I used to make dolls and line them up and have all my babies. Boy, that was the easy days, right? They don't move.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really wanted to be a mom. I was raised on a farm in the middle of the Midwest of, the United States, and it was a very earthy upbringing and wholesome in that way. And I just thought that was what I wanted to do.
Oh, that's super interesting. So what was it about being a mom that was so special to you? Is it about seeing the child develop, or is it about nurturing, or what is it about being a mom that spoke to you?
I think it was really caring, taking care of, nurturing, that whole aspect. I guess having my own children to take care of. I'm trying to remember how I felt about it. It could have been being just maybe having people to boss around too. That might have been an
Oh,
issue. Like here, I'm lining them all up. That sounds a little too controlling, right?
yeah, I wish it was that easy to control them. They have a way of, having their own mind.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have 4 now and like I can never have 7. Yeah.
Yeah, I admire people who have that many children and don't lose their sanity.
Me too.
So, did you ever imagine doing something remotely like what you're doing today?
Never.
Never.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No, I actually started college as a music performance major. I majored in flute and piccolo, and that was my life. I was a musician. That was my identity. And then I really started hating music. I was so immersed in it fully as a full-time musician and rehearsing hours and hours a day, performing and all sorts of things. And I just started hating it. And I thought, I don't want to do that. So I switched to education and music. And that's how I got bit by the educator bug. Yeah.
Isn't it interesting how too much of a good thing can really become a bad thing?
Yes. And I didn't want to hate it. I was like, I love music too much. I'd wake up hearing sonatas in my head, and I thought, I need to get a different life. Yeah.
Yeah, it can become too much. So tell us a little more about your journey and how you got to where you are today. So you got from music to education, and how did it continue?
Yeah, I graduated with an education degree. It'd be kind of equivalent to someone who teaches music classes for elementary children all day. Like you'd have, children, new class coming in every hour. And I graduated and realized I don't want to do that either. I obviously am this person who's very hands-on, like I need to try something first. And I really should have put more thought into that. But I realized, I just kind of did a lot of nannying. I did a lot of babysitting and caretaking of children. That always stayed very consistent with me. And then I started having children of my own. I got married young, and my husband was a minister. And so we really went with his jobs at the time. And, I started having children right in a row and didn't have the money to put them in daycare. So I stayed home for a little bit. And then I thought, let me just watch other people's children. People in the church were looking for people they could trust. And that's kind of how I started my daycare in my home. And I really enjoyed it. I found myself creating lesson plans and taking them to the park every day. And we had a routine and a system. And it was just really fun. I enjoyed that. So, and it kind of started with our church started asking me if I could start a daycare in the church. Somebody had the idea. We had the space. It's just kind of very organic, the way that it started and grew.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
Now, I want to come back to something you said about about how you think that maybe you should have put more thought into it. And I think you're being really hard on yourself because there are so many things in life that you think you might enjoy until you actually do them and experience them. And then you discover that maybe it's not for you. So I think there are some things in life that you cannot predict without the experience. You just have to go through the experience to know.
Aww.
So don't be too hard on yourself.
I love you for that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I come from a very perfectionistic family, if that tells you anything. And they're kind of, what are you doing? You just graduated. Now you're just not doing it. It's, it is what it is. And I appreciate that. I think we learn to forgive ourselves and also learn from every experience. I know that I'm over 50 now, and I realize okay, I need to give myself more grace. So I really appreciate that. We all do.
Yes, so true. Now, going back to your background in education, what are your thoughts? What makes a really good teacher in your eyes?
That's really changed over the years, right? I've always worked with young children. That's been my focus, like early ed. And I think, now what I would say, after 20 years in the business of, seeing 20 years of children come and go, is really the best teachers think for the long term, and they really invest in the children and think ahead for them. Like, what skill set, what do I want this to do for the child 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now? And it's probably due to my perspective. I have kids coming back to me who are graduated from college now, and they're like, Miss Cassie, oh my gosh. And you think what are we investing in the children? I think that's how a really good teacher thinks. It's not just for today. It's not just the lesson plan. It's not just the activity. It's really about thinking long-term for that child and what outcomes are we looking for? What are we preparing them for? And that can be done a million different ways, and that's okay. Like, it should be personalized by the teacher's personality, but and breaking things down very clearly for them, making it accessible for them to learn. Yeah.
So simplicity and building those skill sets that will help them for the future. And I think that's a very important point, because sometimes we have to teach them the uncomfortable lessons. Like, it's really uncomfortable in the moment, but it builds those skills that they will need in the future, right? So that can be really, really hard. I mean, this is something that we experience as moms on a daily basis, right? Can you talk about that? What is it like to having to teach them a tough lesson that you know will benefit them in the future?
I think a lot of it is like, and we see it in our society and culture today, there's a lack of resiliency. And I think even just pushing them through in a very loving way, obviously love is a huge part of that. You have to love children to work with them. And I see a lot of people who don't, and that's very dangerous in my opinion. But I think like just teaching them resiliency, pushing them through, pushing just a little bit, like knowing that child well enough to push them to the brink where they're just it's like a stretch, right? You're not like harming them in any way, but like, just say try again, and not making it this negative experience, and kind of circling back around. If they're really melting down, they're really having struggles, there may be some neurodivergency there might be something else going on. But if there's not, then it's like a little bit of a push. And that's what you're training them to do, is actually they're going to be internalizing that in the future. So they'll learn to push themselves and like, get back up, try again. It's okay. Like you said, try again. That didn't work. It's all right. And that's a form of resiliency that I think it's just kind of lacking right now, that I'm seeing, in a lot of young people and who come to work for us, or who just my experience around them. And I really want to like build that into the next generation by doing these small things, like even silly little things. Like you teach a 2-year-old to put something in the garbage and it falls on the floor. Okay, pick it back up. Like, don't do it for them. Train them how to do it and repeat it again. So then what it does also, besides resiliency, it builds so much confidence in them, because as they get more confident, they're more willing to try the next thing and the next thing. And so that just stacks up and builds up for their hopefully into their adult future,
Yeah, I love that. That's so important. And what teaching principles do you find most useful when you're working with your clients? Are there maybe some out there that are still being taught, but that really don't work in your experience?
I guess for me, my teaching principles are, because I'm a teacher, I definitely am a step-by-step person. I just need that for myself. So I guess I teach people how I'd want to learn. I just need a little bit of hand holding. And then once I get it, I'm fine. And I really know it, but I'm definitely like a kinesthetic learner. I'm hands-on. I'm very concrete. I do think outside of the box, but I have to like get my hands on it. And then I'm like, okay, now I know it. So I'm that way. And I will, for example, for my one-on-one clients, I will, instead of doing something for them, I'll do like a Loom video step-by-step of some sort of little process, whatever it is, whether it's their QuickBooks, whether it's they're learning how to download something or Google Drive something. I'll do a Loom screen share video and be like, okay, step-by-step. And I just share it with them, because then they have something to go back on and they can pause it. They can go back to step 1, start over. And that, to me, like keeping it simple and doing step-by-step and making it accessible, not talking down to them, but just be like, hey, here you go. It's like throwing something in the garbage can when you're 2. Okay, pick it back up, try again, watch the Loom video again. That definitely, you can see I guess I haven't changed my methods, have I? How it's not treating people like children, but it's showing enough respect to know that they can learn it. And actually, I'm giving them a skill that they won't have to pay someone for later on.
Right. That makes total sense. Yeah, I'm the same. I like the step-by-step. I write my SOPs. Like, I know I have a process for everything so that I don't get overwhelmed and I can just go through it step by step. Now, how did you scale your daycare center to a multi-million-dollar business? Tell us about the structure and the system that made this possible for you.
Yeah, that was a big process, and it was too long of a process for me. Even my business partner, she's wonderful, and she was actually one of my teachers, and I asked her to join me in the business because we're both moms and we needed time to be with our families, because obviously we could have worked 80 hours a week.
Yeah.
She didn't want to do. So I think for scaling, the main thing you have to know is, if you're ready to scale your business, for anyone who's listening and you're okay, I'm at 6 figures, I'm kind of maxed out with my time, I can't do any more, but I need to do more. And you start to feel that tension. For us, we had to find someone to replace us, which meant hiring a director. And our business at that point was very personality driven. It was based on my personality, how I did things. And it was really hard to replace myself and to find someone who had a similar vision, had a similar way of dealing with people. It was more like my magic of how I treated the customers, the clients, the children. And it took a long time to let that go. And if I had, I know systems and processes, SOPs and everything now so well, of course. At the time, I was like, oh, I'll just teach them and they'll just magically somehow absorb it from my energy. I don't know. That just doesn't happen. So don't do it like me. Basically, my story is don't do it like me. Here's how I've learned. Here's the better way. Take my advice, because I just don't want you to suffer like I did. But it took us years to find the right person. And it also took a lot of understanding that we had to let go and go through kind of a grieving process, that no one is like you and you have to get over yourself. You can be replaced. And it took me probably, 5 years to really get over myself and be like, okay, I'm going to trust this person. Even if they mess up, it's okay. We're going to fix it. Everything can be fixed. It's okay. But I think scaling is, you have to replace yourself first and step out of the daily operations to really, really get a bigger picture view of your business. Because right now, when you're in the dailies, you cannot see the bigger picture. It's just really impossible. So that was just that can be done in a year quite easily. It took me 5. So I'll be honest, it took me a while, and it was like passing the torch, and it was challenging. It was really challenging, but that allowed my business partner and I to step back and be like, oh, we need to work on this and this. We couldn't see it. We were in the midst of everything. And to be able to just start to realize, and that's part of the money management piece, we're like, where's all the money going? And we were in it, and I think that piece allowed us, when we stepped back, finally to really realize, wait a second, we've got to figure this out, so it was a really good learning experience. But that's how we scaled it, is by replacing ourselves and refocusing the money more into a team and a director team.
That makes total sense. And I think it's especially for people like the two of us who grew up in a perfectionist environment. We hate giving up control. We hate delegating. We think that we are the best at what we're doing and nobody else can replace us. And it's really, really hard for us to trust someone to do the job the same way that we did. So I think that's a very common problem. And beside that challenge, were there any other big business challenges that you encountered as you were scaling, and how did you overcome them?
Well, we, for our particular business, it's a low margin business, low profit margin. So we have to really watch every dollar. And I know not every business is that way. We also have a limit on how many children we can have in the building at one given time because of, fire codes and everything. So we are literally maxed out and limited in how many clients we can have, let alone, what we need to pay our staff and things like that, and what we can actually charge in our area. I do live in a more expensive area. I'm right outside New York City. So of course people can pay a little more, but even then there's still a lot of expenses that come along with it. So the challenge for us was, okay, how can we maximize the money while we're capped with our client load, right? How can we make more money in the business? How can we maximize every dollar that's coming in? And at the time, and one of the biggest I would call it lessons we learned, was we decided, well, let's replicate what we're doing. Let's open another center. And we had hired a director. We were like, okay, we've got this. We did a lot of research, probably not enough, because then we found out there were these things going on we didn't know about. We're like, it wound up not working. And so that was it was about 8 or 9 months of a lot of money going in, a lot of prep work. We got a second location. We lost a lot of money that year. And I think at that point, that was really the tipping point for us to realize, like, we've got to figure this money thing out. We were barely taking home anything, pouring all our heart and soul and our time into the second location. It didn't work out for various reasons. Some of it we couldn't have known about, and that's fine. It's like, okay, let it go. But you don't get that money back, right? And I think that was like a huge lesson for us. That was really the tipping point of, okay, we've really got to figure this out. And do we really want to run 2 places? And our answer was, no, we don't. We actually don't. We don't have the bandwidth emotionally to handle this, because we're not a corporate daycare. We are not like a franchise. We are independently owned and operated. We create everything ourselves, and we don't want to become that, I guess, corporate daycare. So we kind of reevaluated everything. And that's when I started working on the profit stack system. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's so important. So often we do things because we think we need to do them, only to figure out that actually it's not what we want to do. So.
Like I told you, I just go in, I'm like, yes. And then I'm like, oh no. Okay.
Let's talk about the money piece. So what's the role of mindset in all those money struggles? And why do you think that mindset is so important in this regard?
Well, I think we all have different risk tolerances, right? I have a very high risk tolerance. I have, I guess for me, it's just my nature, the way I am. I'm very adventurous, and in business, maybe not in my personal life, but in business I am. And I think with a mindset, I have to be careful not to overextend myself. And because I'm kind of like that generator, like I just keep going and keep going. And I think sometimes like my mindset around money needs to be kind of tempered. And that's why I have my business partner who's less risk averse. And so she's like, or she is risk averse. And that's fine. That's like a good balance of energies. But I think the mindset around money, and, I'll go back to this too. Like, I think when we were making our first $1 million year, I was like, oh, $1 million, that's the goal, right? We made it. And it's like, I remember looking at our books and I was like, oh, there's no balloons, there's no party, like nobody's patting us on the back. I'm looking around like there's no accolade, like we just got to keep going, And I realized like these are all like not real numbers, like they're not real things. It's more about what you do in your business, how you impact people, how you impact the world and the children and the long-term goals, all these things. But money is just a tool that I just look at it like flowing around the business. I know I do bookkeeping. I understand like the traditional accounting ways, but there's a different way to manage it in such a way that it correlates with your mission and your values and your whole value system of how you run your business. And I think that's really, I always tell myself, if it's not this, it's something better. And I can always make more money and it's okay. Like that's my mindset around it, because the truth is I can. People see me from years ago. They're like, oh, everything you touch turns to gold. I'm like, is that what you think? Okay, great. Keep thinking that. But I know the truth is that I have to keep getting back up and trying again and having that resiliency as well. And I think that's the mindset around the whole money thing is like, I don't want to be thinking about money all day. I want to think about the kids. I want to think about the staff and the parents and like, what's going to happen 5-10 years from now. And I think that the way I developed the profit stack system really is so you don't have to focus and hyper focus and obsess about money all the time. It's like, boop, boop, boop. Here you go. Move it around. It's done. Move on. Because we're not here to worship money. We're here to use it all the time to make our lives better. And I guess that's my mindset around it. There are a lot of blocks that come up for people, but, I come from nothing. We didn't have money growing up. So those big numbers meant a lot to me. And then I suddenly realized when I got there, like, it's pretty meaningless, actually. It's what you do as a human. And I get a little choked up about it, but your impact on the world is something that's just really priceless. And it sounds cheesy, but it's the truth. It's really true.
Yeah, it totally is. And I think that mindset is really so important because it affects the way that we show up in the world, and it affects the actions that we take in our lives on a daily basis. But do you find that sometimes when you talk to people about their money mindset, that they get really offended when you tell them that they have to work on their money mindset because in order to make more money? Because a lot of people, for them, it's really counterintuitive, but also really annoying to hear that, right? Because it kind of implies that they're doing something wrong, and that it's something they really don't want to hear, because they're already working their butt off and it's just not working. So it's super, super annoying to some people, and they get really defensive. So what would you like to say to those people who have that kind of gut reaction to your message?
I think there's a lot of money stories going on in the background. Like, we're all kind of so hardwired in our brains to believe certain things, and that has to do with neurology and how we work and how we were raised, like, how we're just built. But a lot of us if you find yourself having a reaction to being told by your coach or other people, like you have an issue to work on, and you react like with resistance, then there's definitely an issue to work on, is what I would say. Like, it just proves the fact that you're right, Claudia. If you say to your client, like, you have money mindset, and they're like, if you're feeling any kind of defensive way or resistance around that truth, then there is something there. I usually have my clients write down a lot of their old, like, what are the things that you're thinking about money every day? I was talking with somebody yesterday, really in passing, at my client's clinic, and they were saying, I just don't want to think about money. I don't want to think about it. It's like, I just don't. And that's a mindset, right? If you ignore your money is just going to be gone. It's going to run away from you, because you actually aren't kind of attracting it. You're repelling it. So that's why you have all this debt or this whatever. Like, you can see the mindset is directly linked to how much they have or don't have. For a long time, I had a mindset that I can make more, but I couldn't hold on to it. I didn't feel good. I thought my family's going to hate me. I have more than anybody in my entire family. I don't even tell them. Like, it's so funny. Recently, I had to tell my father what I actually did for a living, because I just hid it from him. He's like, aren't you a preschool teacher? I was like, no, I own the business. It's just so funny. He was like, what? I was so like almost ashamed. I don't know how to say it. Like, especially coming from the Midwest, you don't brag about what you do. It's really like looked at. It's not, And so I just realized, like, I just had this shame around holding on to it. Like, I'm not worthy to save money or to invest money. And I really had to work through that as well. I had to unwire that. Like, yes, you are. You're made in God's image. You are worthy. You're valuable. We all are. And I think, when it's like time to work on money mindset, I think it's good to write down everything you feel about it. Because even if you perceive that you're feeling that way, it's usually from another thing. Somebody, your aunt telling you this or that, or someone speaking this, or this bad feeling around something you have to do with money, whether it's managing, whatever it is. I think it's just really important to go back and clean house and start over and just rebuild the truth, because truth is what we make it. The truth of my money mindset is so far removed from what my family believed and believes still to this day. It's like night and day. And they just look at me like, wow, how did you get there? It's like, I just have a very different view of life and money. I don't like hold on to it. I like to be generous. I like to make enough to be generous. I know I can make more. I know I can receive more. I know I can be smart with it now, even though I'm not a CPA or I don't have an MBA, I'm not qualified technically, but I think that when you feel resistance around something, that shows that there's a lot of work to do there. And I'm speaking to myself. I always have something.
Same here. There's always something coming up that we have to work through. I think it's always a work in progress. Like, we're never really done. So maybe you can share the 1 or 2 most common limiting beliefs around money that you see in your clients all the time. And how do you help those people reframe those beliefs?
I think the most limiting belief that I've seen in myself and in my clients is that I am not qualified to manage my own money. And I see people giving away their authority to other professionals who may not have the same end goal as they do with their money, and it's fine. Like, professionals are professionals. I'm a professional, maybe in something different. And so that is the most disempowering thing you can ever tell yourself, is that I can't do it. It's literally like a 2-year-old saying, I can't throw that thing away. It's like, no, I can't. Yes, you can. I'm like that person coming along saying, yes, you can. I've made this really easy, simple system for you. I walk you through step by step. It's like, that is my goal, because it is so disempowering when people say, I can't do it. I don't know enough about that. And they just shut down and turn off. You've basically given your power away from your whole business. And your business is really you. And money is part of that. So the most common thing I see, especially in women, is I can't do it. I don't know enough. I'm not trained. I don't have the degree. Who am I to manage that kind of money? And oh my God, how did I make this much money? That's the kind of thing I see a lot of. Another one is, like I said, I can't keep, like, I'll make money, but I can't keep it. It's a lot of self-worth issues around that. Like, I'm not worthy, even though it could be packaged in a different way. Like, who am I to do that? That's a worthiness issue, and it's a lot of women face that.
Why do you think it's so hard for women especially? And why do we have so much fear and guilt around the money issue? Why?
Man, I could ask you, like, Claudia, do you suffer with that? I don't know. I think we all do. We do. I think we are trained to be nurturers. We're trained to be self-sacrificing, especially if you grew up in a very traditional, more patriarchal mindset, or society or environment, which I know I did. And I know, like, my father loves me, but he's never going to change his mindset around these things. There's an understanding there, and definitely a big respect between us, but we have very different viewpoints of what women and men do and can't do. But I think, like, we're so trained and ingrained and wired. I just use wired because it's like this hard wiring that we've got to, like, untangle and then rewire and reprogram. Of giving until there's nothing left, or even more than nothing left. And I think for women, it's time for us to realize that we have been giving away our power, our authority for so long, that it's time to actually kind of go back within ourselves, because it's all in us, right? We don't need to look around at the other women and be like, oh, that's who I want to be. It's like, no, I'm going to be me, you be you be Claudia, because that's the most powerful you can be. And same with myself. I'm going to be Cassie, and it's different from everyone else, and that's what it's supposed to be. But I think, like, dropping down into who we are and looking at the love, we can be providers. We can be generous. We can be those guides in the world, and we really should. We are the creators of this world. We were made to create. And I think that this goes way beyond the money discussion, but it affects how we look at our money. If you're like, I'm a creator, that's different than like, oh, I need to take care of everyone in my life. Those are very different energies that you're facing your business with, right? So I think that we as women need to start standing up and just saying, no, this is who I am. I'm a powerful creator, and I'm going to help other women empower themselves, and I think that's it. It's like, I'm not giving my power to another woman. I'm teaching her how to step into her power, how to own herself, drop down and just be herself, because that's really our true power and our true influence in this world. That's how we're going to change some of these crazy things that are going on in the world. That's the only way, I'm sorry, I could go on too long.
No, I totally agree. And I think a lot has to do with the roles that we see ourselves in, and that we have to understand that we can have multiple roles at the same time. We can be the creative we can be the provider and we can still be the nurturer in the family. So it's not mutually exclusive, right? But so often I think we create this cognitive dissonance when we think about ourselves as being the creative type. So it kind of implies that we can't make money, or at least that's the story we tell in our heads. It's like, it's the narrative that we tell ourselves. It's, we are creative, we don't make money, we create stuff. But we could do both at the same time, right?
Yes. Yes. Amen.
Is there any other advice that you would like to give to female entrepreneurs out there who hold that sense of fear and guilt around handling money?
I would just say drop it, like let it go and realize that there are just a few steps you have to do, and in the right order, in the right way. And it's so simple. I wish I had known it, but it took me a while to figure it out. And it's just, there's just an easier way to do it. It gives you your authority back in your life, in your business. It helps you to understand and make decisions better. The best thing you can do is to learn how to take back control of your money management. That is the best thing, because you're going to start making better decisions. You're going to feel empowered yourself, like, wow, I can do something with this. You're going to have that intentional spirit. You're going to have that feeling like you're going to reach other, like your goals, your dreams, and your visions. And you're going to re-empower yourself. Does that make sense? Like, there's just a way to do it. And it's so simple. It almost seems like, sometimes I'm like, what am I really teaching people? But then you see results, you're like, oh, okay. Yeah, it is something, because it just seems too simple. But it's in a certain order, in a certain way. So I would just encourage women to accept, like, drop that struggle, accept the fact that you can do it. There is a way for, like, an everyday person to manage their money. You don't have to have an MBA. You don't have to be PhD. You don't have to have your accounting degree to do it. There is a way to do it and really be able to take back that authority in your life and control the outcome of your business.
Well, now I want to know more about that, for sure. So what is your profit stack system? What does it look like? How does it work?
Well, what I've been doing is really, it all is included together. Like, this profit stack system is just a really simple way of, like, cleaning your financial house and then starting stacking up all your profits. That's why I call it profit stacking. And I've created, like, a free training for everyone. It's just called, Cash Flow Freedom. And the idea is to create more cash flow in your business. Even if you can't take on new clients, like we couldn't in the daycare, we still created more cash flow. And it felt a little miraculous, but it does work. And so, like, what I offer is a free training, and it leads to those. And what I've done, because I've been working with high ticket clients this past couple years, one-on-one, I still have a big client. But for those people who can't really afford that yet, maybe they're not there in their business, I've created a few courses, because it's like, I want this to be accessible for every woman. And it's very reasonable. I've just, like, broken it down step-by-step videos, like, super simple. I even include a tapping video so that we can calm our emotions down, because a lot of times we're like, and it's like, let's just calm down. We'll make better decisions together, and so, like, money tapping and things like that. Just really simple ways to manage money. So at a very reasonable price. But I put a free training in there just to give an overview of, like, please drop the money struggle, just, re-empower yourself. You can do this. Like, we don't want you to be overwhelmed. Let's create a simple way for you to do this. But I have the free training if people want to watch that.
Aww. Thank you so much. That sounds amazing. And I encourage people to check it out. We'll put a link in the show notes, so it should be easy to find. Now, with all that you have accomplished so far, what's next on your bucket list? Is there anything that you're working toward, like a big goal, maybe in your personal life, maybe in your business? What are your plans for next year?
For 2024, my goal is to scale my online business now. So I've, created the brick and mortar. I've done my consulting business. It's a 6-figure business. Now my goal is to get to 6 figures in my online course business, because that 6 figures represents to me that I'm reaching a lot more people. Like, that's really the intent behind it, is I want to reach a lot more women in business who could use this kind of support. I am going to be working on some new meditations as well, kind of like a meditation bundle, because I know how it feels to be really on edge and on high alert all the time and stressed out. And I wish I kind of had this when back in, 2010 or whatever, 2005. But, I'm kind of just building out different courses, things that I've used myself. I would only offer things to people that I would use myself out of integrity. And that's really important. So that's my goal this year. My ultimate goal is to be completely financially independent, but also location independent. Like, I want to keep working, but we live in a house in New Jersey. I'd like to be able to just travel anywhere I want to at any time. So that's a little bit more longer term, like 5 years. So
sounds great, though. Best of luck with that.
Thank you.
Is there anything else that you would like to share with our listeners today before we wrap up?
Not at this time, except to say, Claudia, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your focused attention. I value what you do as well. Thank you for getting the word out. I like your podcast a lot. I think you really take time to listen to people and ask really great questions. So I just want to say thank you for that. I really love supporting you and your business too. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. That's so kind of you. And of course, thank you for sharing all your tips and insights with us today. It's been a pleasure having you on this show.
Oh, you too. Thank you.
So take care and talk soon. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the Wired for Success podcast. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review. That's a fantastic, easy, and zero-cost way to help the show grow. Just use the link in the show notes and make my day. Want more? For quick, actionable tips and insights to guided meditations and a side of biohacking, join my inner circle and get access to exclusive subscriber-only content. Again, just use the link in the show notes to join the tribe. Thank you for your support and see you on the other side. Take care and talk soon. Bye.